Howdy, my name is Stephen White. On behalf of Shafique Papa, aka Startup Dad, I want to welcome you to A Better Way. Now, Shafique and I are practicing proper social distancing, which means this episode is taking place via Zoom. Now, Shafique, before we get started, I want to take this moment to explain what we mean by a better way. A better way is where we help business owners and startup founders to overcome business challenges faster, cheaper, and with better quality outcomes using lean principles. Now, during this stressful time, Shafiq and I are here to address questions and challenges that small business owners and startup founders are facing during the pandemic by using lean business principles because we believe there is a better way to get through the weeks ahead.
That's right, Stephen. We know a lot of you are struggling to figure out how to navigate the next 60 to 90 days. And as Stephen mentioned, we're trying to figure out what the better way is. And we've been fielding lots of calls from different people in our network. And over the next few days, we'll attempt to answer as many of these questions as possible. So, Stephen, let's jump into it with answering today's question. Can you tell us the first question?
Yeah, today's question comes from a restaurant owner who's asked to remain anonymous, but wants to know, how can I possibly stay open with such little foot traffic?
That's a great question. Many of you are asking, how can you restore the revenue stream so that you can survive the next 60 to 90 days? Now, cutting costs is important, and if all of us engage only in cutting costs, we would ensure the whole economy would collapse. So we don't want to just focus on that. Instead of focusing on cutting costs, let's focus on restoring revenues. And with this, when this pandemic is over, there's going to be kind of a different reality out there, and you will have lost some customers because they no longer have the ability to purchase from you. So you need to right now to focus on finding new customers to replace the ones you'll lose over the next 60 to 90 days. Now, returning to the question asked by our restaurant owner, let's start with some lean thinking. Stephen, how about you quickly remind us the challenge faced by the retail businesses and specifically this restaurant owner who serves a neighborhood?
Sure. So for most retail shop owners, their products are delivered through their storefront, which means that it's not easy to shift to a remote delivery model immediately. Now, restaurants in particular are generally located close to dense populations during particular times of day. So you look as an example, some of the food halls downtown that exist to serve office workers who are looking for a good meal at lunch. Now, the addition of social distancing restrictions further discourages people from leaving their homes to patronize restaurants near where they live.
That's a good summary, Stephen. So the challenge faced by these business owners is how to quickly adjust their service and start to deliver their value to the customers where they're located. And this means is they need to develop an approach to reach those customers quickly with messaging that fulfills the pain that your customers have. And while only slightly changing how your business works since this pandemic will eventually pass. And now to be clear, this strategy only works for those retail shops that serve their neighborhoods, rather than destination shopping stores like IKEA or Gallery Furniture right here in Houston. So let's talk about those retail shops that serve local neighborhoods, specifically a restaurant owner who may have seen a 90% drop in foot traffic.
Okay, so in thinking lean, business owners focus on first solving their customers' problems. The challenge faced by retail shops that are serving their local neighborhoods is how to shift their product or service so their customers don't have to spend any time inside their store. More specifically, in this case, this restaurant previously solved their customers' problem of having a nice night out with their family while having a quality meal at a reasonable price. While people aren't going to eat out as much right now, the original problem that the restaurant's customers experience really hasn't changed, other than dealing with the new reality of social distancing at the moment. This means that the restaurant owner needs to adjust their offering with easy options for their customers to get the meals that they love, which can happen with either, say, home delivery or curbside pickup. Since both of those options provide an opportunity to leverage their existing wait staff, the restaurant actually can provide a warm touch to their customers with a handwritten thank you note attached to each customer order. So with this food pickup or delivery options available, the restaurant owner now needs to get the word out to their neighbors that they are open for business and ready to serve their customers.
That's right, Stephen. Anytime you think you have a solution, and in the way you defined it, you've got really two options. You can either do home delivery or curbside pickup. The question now is, how can we get the word out, and how can we run a quick test to see if by getting the word out, we're going to get the response we're looking for. So following a lean business approach, all customer messaging starts with making the customer aware of the problem they're suffering from. And any solution we conceive is based on some assumptions that need quick validation. So in our restaurant owner's example, their customers are hungry or just tired of eating their home cooked meals. Or worse, they don't have enough food at home. So the message would start with reminding the customer of the problem they're suffering from. Something like, tired of eating the same sandwiches every day? Pick up our hot, delicious, fresh chicken or beef tacos. Your choice. Just $2.50 each. Call in your order and we'll have it ready for easy curbside pickup within 15 minutes. You don't even have to leave your car. And as always, we ensure your food safety. Food is safely prepared and delivered to you hot and fresh. What do you think about that, Stephen?
That's awesome. That's an easy to implement solution for most everyone. Now, how are the restaurant owners supposed to get the word out quickly and cheaply so they can test if the message is actually going to work? I mean, Shafique, that's got to be the hardest part at this point, right?
It is. It is the hardest part. And the thing that we want to make sure is that before we like just simply drop a message and then send it out to everybody, we want to do a quick test, right? We want to validate. Because like in lean thinking, and we're really talking about making sure we avoid costly mistakes. In lean thinking, we need to know our assumption is going to work before we spend our whole marketing budget on an unproven idea.
So, Shafiq, what are other options to do that? It seems like this could be kind of challenging. I mean, are they supposed to get some new signs printed for their store or have one of those inflatable wavy things out front of their store so people will notice if they happen to drive by?
Steven, I think you have a fascination with those wavy things. I think you really wanted to be one of those wavy things, didn't you?
It's truly something I've always wanted to make sure I get under my LinkedIn profile. So, yes, that has been my dream.
Yeah, so I think those options you listed, getting signs printed and a wavy sign, unfortunately, when nobody's going out of their house, that really doesn't work. The idea is how can we reach our customers where they are, specifically in their homes? So, what are the ways we can reach them? Well, we know for a fact that traffic on social sites is dramatically up. Everybody's spending a lot more time on their phones. And so, our job is to figure out how we can reach them on the screens that they're already looking at. So, specifically, two things come to mind: Facebook and Nextdoor. Both are great because they allow this particular neighborhood restaurant to micro target the geography that they're serving. Both applications make it super easy to run an ad specifically in a very tight geography. Now, if you're not familiar with the Facebook or Nextdoor and you don't know how to run that, there's always the old manual option, and you can be just as quick and just as cheap using that approach. So if you have a printer, you can quickly use Word to whip out a flyer, print out 300 copies, and then walk the neighborhood and drop the flyers off and stick it to their door handles, right? And that's a quick way to act fast. Now, of course, if you don't like walking, and that's me, this body wasn't built by just food; it was built by not exercising. So if you don't feel like walking, what you're going to do is you're going to use something like USPS online, and they have a service called Every Door Direct Mail, and it's a great way for you to quickly upload your flyer, and within 72 hours, they'll print it and deliver it to the homes that you target. And again, they have a micro-targeting solution as well. You can specifically choose the homes, some kind of radius circle that you want to deliver in. So how does that sound, Stephen? Does that sound like I answered your question this time?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, you just gave us two cost-effective and fast methods for reaching our target customers, along with a message itself that addresses the problem that restaurant owners' customers are experiencing, as well as how to easily deliver that solution. Now, Shafiq, here's the one thing though. Most people just don't have weeks to wait to see if these actions will actually work. How would a restaurant quickly know whether their ad and then their pickup or delivery service works with either their existing customers or their new customers?
That's a great question. So anytime you're running a test, you have to know what success looks like. Because if you run a test and something happens or doesn't happen, you have to be able to judge whether enough of it happened, right? So in this case, in our example, we said we're going to distribute 300 flyers. Now, there are two ways of figuring out what success looks like. There's either the benchmark method or your own internally driven targets that are driven by your business needs. So let's take them one at a time. The first is the benchmarking approach. We know, for instance, that there's really good data to support this, that if you put flyers out, you're lucky if you get about a 0.5% response rate. So if you're only putting out 300 flyers and you got 2 calls, you kind of hit that benchmark target. But 2 calls isn't going to help you restore the foot traffic. If you're used to getting 200-300 customers showing up at your store, you need to now figure out how do you scale those 2 calls up to 200 or 300 calls a day, right? So that you can fulfill 200 or 300 orders that help you at least break even. If you might not thrive, but you can certainly break even. And then when the business picks up, you can start to thrive because you picked up new business along the way. So the quick thing right now is to figure out, okay, so that's the benchmarking approach. And remember, when we do flyers, we have to be repeatable in the sense that if you send it out this week and then if you repeat it again next week, you're likely to get a better response rate as people need to see the same message 3 or 4 times before they start to internalize it and then start to act on it. So that's one approach. The second approach is the second part of it, the second way of knowing if it's successful or not, is also to use your internally driven needs. So if this restaurant is trying to figure out that they need between 200 and 300 new calls a day to restore the break-even point, then they have to target enough customers, enough neighborhoods or households to be able to achieve that number. So if 3,000 gets them 2 calls, 300 flyers gets them 2 calls, then it's not hard math. They would need to target 30,000 households. Now, obviously, 30,000 households for a small restaurant is a lot of work and very hard to do, even if they're using USPS, but a little easier with social networking sites, but it will cost a lot of money. So the question now is, how can they increase their response rate? And that's a longer discussion. We don't have time to talk about that today, but that's kind of the approach. The approach is you need to know what your internal targets are. You need to know what kind of, for the money you're spending, what kind of response you're getting, and then how do you quickly scale that to achieve the internal target that you had set. So start small and then repeat. That's the answer, Stephen.
Great. Okay, let me see if I can summarize into steps all that you just discussed. So step 1, the restaurant needs to create a message that tests their new offering of home delivery or curbside pickup for their customers who are following the social distancing guidelines. Let's see, step 2, the restaurant needs to get their message out to their customer with a small test campaign that can be done over just a few days to get quick feedback on the results. And then step 3, the restaurant needs to then measure the results from that test campaign, and then they have to decide whether to rerun the test with improvements to their message if they don't achieve their target response rate, or if they do achieve their goal, then they can scale their message to the entire neighborhood or target audience. Now, I did notice that you kind of glossed over the details on step 1. Can you take a moment to expand on how you came up with the example message? I'm sure there's business owners and founders out there who want to know how they can write good ad copy themselves.
Sure. Okay, let me see if I can remember how we did this. I think I have that in front of me right here on my screen. So let me see if I can break that apart. The first part of the message was tired of eating the same sandwiches every day. Now, what that phrase does is it kind of reminds a customer of the problem they're suffering from, right? And in other words, they're experiencing it right now. And then the second part of the message, pick up our hot, delicious, fresh chicken or beef tacos, describes an alternate solution. It changes that problem into a more positive aspect. Okay, you can not eat the sandwich and eat fresh tacos instead, right? So, and you'll also notice that even if those that are not eating sandwiches will identify with the ad because they're likely stuck at home and probably eating something like canned tuna, right? So the last part of the ad was just all the other information they needed, like just $2.50 each, call in your order, and we'll have it ready for easy curbside pickup within 15 minutes. You don't even have to leave your car. That was supposed to help that part of the ad is meant to help the customer understand how to get to a quick decision. In other words, it's answering all the other questions they're likely to have. So, and if you kind of break that apart, specifically you're looking at the customer knows the price, they know how they can place their order, and they can safely pick up their order. Like it's managing the risk there as well. Now, of course, in my copy, I didn't include the phone number or the website, and you'd probably want to add those just to make sure they know how to reach you, and they're not having to go look that up, by Googling it or something. It's right there in the ad, so they can act on it as soon as they read it. It's actionable. Does that answer it?
That's excellent, actually, and that's a great reminder. You have to have that easy contact information prominent on the ad, the flyer. It's something that people often overlook. So great. This is since we covered a lot of items here, we're going to provide a download of this example for anyone who wants to read it on their own or share with other business owners affected by the current crisis. Now, during our next episode, we're going to explore a better way to address a different challenge. This is one that's faced by a local manufacturer who's concerned with how to continue product assembly should their workers need to stay home in the event of a lockdown. It's great contingency planning because you're just not sure how things could evolve over the next couple of weeks. Now, if you're looking for a better way for your business to survive during this crisis, please submit your questions so we can directly answer your questions. Also, subscribe to our channel so you can receive immediate access to our latest updates. A Better Way is brought to you by the Lean Mastery Incubator. Lean Mastery helps founders convert their ideas into a thriving business fast. It helps business owners avoid mistakes that cost time and money. You can learn more about how you can become a Lean Mastery Incubator member at leanmastery.co. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to helping you find a better way to get your business going, growing, and thriving.